السنة مثل سفينة نوح، من ركبها نجا ومن تركها غرق.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله، وكفى بالله شهيدا، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, as to what proceeds, after praising Allah, the Most High, separated from His creation in a manner which befits His Majesty, with love and veneration exclusively for Him, and asking Him to send His salah wa salam upon the final messenger and prophet, Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Qurashi. We meet once again for our weekly meeting to discuss an important issue today, which is related to note-taking, as we have the intention for studying the book Al-Usul ath-Thalathah, famously known as the three fundamental principles, or the three principles, or the three fundamentals, or the three foundations, illustrated by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn al-Wahha rahimahullah ta'ala, mujaddid of his time. We have been studying and discussing a number of issues in the past few months related to what we call a preface, or the preface, al-Madkhal. And now we are coming to the end of the Madkhal with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A student of knowledge, when he or she decides to study and seek knowledge, the most important thing for the student of knowledge, or the talibul ilm, is to be sincere, mukhlis, in his or her intention. So the first thing which is very important every time you come to a lesson, to study or to seek knowledge, you must refine your intention, your niyyah. And you should be mukhlis, or sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the only reason that you want to study or that you are seeking knowledge is to obtain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best manner in which a student of knowledge can seek knowledge is to seek knowledge in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Buyutullah, in the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the best way. If somebody was to ask you, what is the best atmosphere, or what is the best place where a student of knowledge can seek knowledge? The answer to that is simple. The house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the masjid of Allah, in the masjid. And the student of knowledge should sit down on the ground in the masjid and have a pen and paper and listen attentively to the durus of the Shaykh that is teaching him, or the teacher that is teaching him. This is the best way for seeking knowledge. You have a teacher, you have a student, you have the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have a pen and a paper. In the 21st century, with modern technology now, due to unforeseen circumstances, a lot of the durus have been relocated or have been moved to studying online. So when I was pondering over this issue, which we are going to be discussing today, I realized that many of us are now studying or seeking knowledge online. So a student of knowledge, before he does anything or she does anything, like I mentioned, must refine their intention and be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of our teachers, he said something very beautiful once. He said that if a student of knowledge promises me that he will be consistent and will do 3 things whilst seeking knowledge, then I can promise him, with the permission of Allah and His will, that he will be a successful student of knowledge, and he will prosper, and he will master that which he is learning. 3 things. The first thing is that the student of knowledge, before he comes to the lesson, he reads up on the subject or on the topic that is going to be taught. So for example, if you are studying the issue of Salah, so you know that tomorrow the teacher is going to teach, or the Shaykh is going to teach the topic of Salah. You would get the book, and before the lesson, you would try to read and try to understand as much as you are able to, and make an effort of researching on certain issues before the lesson. So that's the first thing. Student of knowledge reads up on the topic or on the subject before the Shaykh comes and addresses and teaches that subject or topic, or the teacher. Is that understood? That's the first thing. The second thing is that during the time when the lesson is being taught, so now the teacher or the Shaykh is teaching, the student must be with his teacher or his Shaykh from the moment that he starts to speak till he finishes, but with his body and soul. Meaning that he is totally focused and attentive of everything that the Shaykh is teaching. He is not distracted. He does not daydream. Nor is his mind thinking about other issues. That's the most important thing. That's the second issue. The first is before the lesson. The second issue is during the lesson. And the third issue is after the lesson has finished. When the lesson has finished, the student of knowledge, he takes his notes that he has written and he revises everything that the teacher has taught. Anything he doesn't understand, he makes a note of it. Anything which requires further elaboration, he makes a note of it. Any questions that he has, that the teacher has taught or the Shaykh has taught. He makes a note of them, and in the next meeting, he or she asks the teacher. If these three things are done before the lesson, during the lesson, and after the lesson, and consistently with 100% effort, then that student will be a successful student with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the gist of everything. Is that clear? Now, with regards to our situation, studying online, we have a lot of students, Allah knows best, of how they present themselves to such gatherings, these gatherings which are online. But you have some students who are sitting on the couches, drinking coffee, playing on their mobiles. Some even have their foot up high, and the lesson is being taught. It's like the lesson which is an act of ibadah. This lesson that which you are all now attending is an act of ibadah. Many of those who study online, they treat this like a university lecture about chemistry or engineering or law or psychology, etc. And this is wrong. This shows, I've even heard, wallahu alam, that some even attend the lessons wearing shorts. Not our lessons, but somebody told me that he heard from somebody else that somebody was once learning some tafsir of the Quran, and accidentally his camera went on and he was there sitting wearing some shorts. So the student of knowledge must not present himself, or she should not present herself. The way that you conduct yourself online is similar and parallel of how you would conduct yourself if you were in the presence of your teacher or your shaykh or the gathering of seeking knowledge. So the first and most important thing is, at home, is the way you sit. You sit with mu'addab, respectfully, as though that you are sitting in a class. How would you sit in a class? How would you sit in a lecture? Some people are eating pizzas, playing on their mobiles, all sorts of things are happening. I say these things which are known to be happening at universities when students are studying online. It's even said that some female students at university, I'm talking about those who are studying secular subjects, they file their nails whilst they are in the lectures. So you as a student of knowledge need to realize that whilst you are sitting in your seat at home, in your comfort zone, this is still an act of ibadah, although it's virtue. And you still need to abide by the etiquettes and the manners of seeking knowledge. So the way you present yourself, the way you sit, and what you do during when the lesson is being taught and the knowledge is being transmitted is very important. Your mobiles should be off. You should make sure that you finish your errands, all your obligations. Your family knows that now you are going to be absent for an hour or so. If there is an emergency, they can contact you, and otherwise you need to be left alone so that you can learn and seek knowledge. So you want to humble yourself and have that humility, that khushu and khudu for Allah while seeking knowledge. You don't want to be putting your legs up on the desk and eating and drinking and talking and looking here and looking there and seeking knowledge at the same time. If you are doing this, then stop. Be alerted that you will not be successful, because this is not a university subject or a secular subject. This is an act of ibadah. This action that you are doing here, sitting in the seat of seeking and learning knowledge, every single second that is spent here, you are accumulating reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the angels will be within your presence. And I feel that this is where we, in the West, we are lacking. We are falling short of, because at home we've lost the classical way or manner of how to seek knowledge. We've become so relaxed that we don't treat it no different from a social event or a university subject, secular subject that is taught at the universities. There has to be a distinction. There has to be a difference in the way you present yourself, in the way you conduct yourself, and in the way you learn. Because this act of seeking knowledge is mahdul ibad. It's just ibad. Do the students understand what I'm saying? And do they understand the importance of how you need to change this atmosphere? You know, you got somebody who's coming to the lesson and he's got his earphones and he's answering phone calls. And somebody's chatting away on WhatsApp whilst attending the lessons. This is not how knowledge is to be learned online. If it was in flesh, or if it was as it should be, physically, then we would see that none of these actions would happen. But because we are located in our comfort zone, we seem to forget that the etiquettes and the restrictions, they still apply. So you have to abide by the rules and the regulations, because you're not doing this for your teacher or for yourself in that manner, but you are doing this for the sake of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us how to seek knowledge and how to learn and how to present ourselves. So this is something which is very important, and I would like to really stress on this issue. And I hope that my message is clear, that when you come to an online lesson which is teaching you about your religion, all the rules and regulations and the etiquettes of a student of knowledge apply to you, even although nobody will be within your presence, not your teacher and not your colleagues. You cannot be relaxed. So do we know the three important rules of a bright, successful, and smart student of knowledge, of how he will conduct himself from today? Before the lesson, during the lesson, and after the lesson. If somebody can be consistent by doing all three things all the time, then Allah will grant him success. بِحَوْلِهِ وَقُوَّتِهِ. Is that clear? Any questions before I move any further? So I've talked about three important rules of learning how to seek knowledge and how to abide by them. Also, I have clarified today that just because you are in your comfort zone, the rules and regulations of a student of knowledge and the etiquettes and the manners still stand with the student of knowledge. I have also mentioned that every single time you come to a lesson, refine your intention and make it sincerely for the sake of Allah. The purpose of why you are seeking knowledge is to obtain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. واضح, is that clear? Now we're going to talk about, the first thing we're going to talk about today is the first issue which I want to discuss today. And this is all taken from the importance of everything that I'm mentioning to you has been taken from the works of the scholars. So most of the information that is being transmitted to you, other than me clarifying and adding something more beneficial, is all from the works and the speech of the scholars. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the importance of being sincere when taking notes. There's no doubt that a student of knowledge, when a student of knowledge takes notes, the student of knowledge must know the content that is being taught. The student of knowledge, whilst taking these notes, must purify his or her intention throughout the lesson and throughout reading on that subject. Whilst taking notes, before you do anything, you must seek Allah's assistance and help. So the first thing is that when you are studying with your teacher or your shaykh, we know that you have to be sincere. We know that you have to refine your intention. And now we know that you have to seek Allah's aid and assistance whilst taking notes. Likewise, it's upon the student of knowledge to make ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly. Because worshipping Allah is the success to everything. So a student of knowledge, when he is taking notes, and this knowledge that is being penned or written down, whilst taking these notes, the student of knowledge should purify his intention to Allah by having the intention that he or she wants knowledge itself and wants to benefit from it. So what does that mean? That means is that when you are taking these notes, you have the intention that you want this knowledge which you are writing. And the purpose of why you are writing and taking these notes is that you want to benefit from them and benefit others from them. So this is something which is very important. If a student of knowledge does this, then this knowledge will return to him and be of use. So this is the first thing. I want to mention something here. Every student of knowledge should have these two things. Can you say this? I've mentioned this before and I mentioned this again. This is what is this? Does anybody know what this is? Or does anybody know what this is? They call this silah talib al-ilm, the weapon of a student of knowledge. Without this, the student of knowledge has nothing. What would happen if you were to have no weapons? Would you be able to defend yourself? A notepad and a pen. So me, since the age of 15, I've had notepads. I have hundreds of them. So you have this notepad. This is a small notepad which stays in your pocket all the time. Any point of benefit, anything related to the religion, you make a note of it. You might hear a hadith, you might hear your teacher say something, and the pen. Al-Talibul Ilms, the ink, hibr, is what keeps a student of knowledge alive, because whenever he listens to something and he benefits or an important thing that is mentioned, he writes it down. Now we have the question here. So we have the pen and paper, and we have modern technology. Now what do? Do we throw away the pen and paper and adopt modern technology by using our iPads and using our phones? You know, everything can be done today on your phone. Or do we abandon the phone? Do we abandon modern technology and stick to the old classical way? What are the opinions of the students? What should we do? Now, abandon technology. Make use of both. Now, the wasatiyah, see, technology is a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, technology, al-taqniyah, is a blessing and a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know about it has been said about Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen. He was very fond of technology. If anything new came into the market that could assist him and assist the students in seeking knowledge or learning, for example, all these recorders that came out and everything, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen would be the first to buy such gadgets. So we say that whoever needs to go and pray from the UK can go and pray and come back. So we need to strike a balance. And the balance is that we don't abandon the classical way and the way of the Salaf, which is the pen and the paper. And at the same time, we utilize modern technology. But what is disheartening is when people or students of knowledge just adopt modern technology and completely neglect and abandon the classical way. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So for example, till this day, myself, I'm talking about myself, the khutab or the khutbahs that I deliver in the different masajid when I travel in the UK, till this day, those who have traveled with me will know, are handwritten. What are they? They are handwritten. I can easily write them on the computer, and some of them have been written on the computer. But me as a person, someone, Zulfiqar, I am fond and prefer the classical way over the modern way. This is my self-preference. Let me give you an example. So this phone, okay. So I have these, you will see, these notes that you will see that I always write on. These pocket books always. So, and I started writing notes on my phone. So I have a small pocket book which stays with me 24 hours. And then I have another daftar which is a proper notepad. And then I have the phone. What happened with modern technology? What happened to me once is I was at work in the Prophet's Masjid, and I went to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, when I picked up my phone fell out and went straight inside. You know those Indian toilets that you get, not the English ones. Yeah. So I actually saw my phone drop, and it went so fast that before I could do anything, it went straight down. And I lost everything. Lost a lot of data that was on there. So I learned my lesson that al-jam'u bayn al-husnayn, combining both classical and modern technology, is the correct way. But being reliant upon one without the other is also not a good thing. But if you had to choose between the two, then you would choose the classical way. Because if tomorrow technology goes, and technology will go, because before the day of judgment, we will go back to horses and swords, as the Prophet ﷺ has prophesied. Then people will go back to the classical way. But when it comes to Western students, my intake on them is that they should be trained upon the classical way. They should be trained. The tarbiyah should be done upon the classical way. After the tarbiyah has done upon the classical way, then they can adopt modern technology. We understand the difference. Listen to me very carefully. You may not find this benefit. You will only find this. Now, you have permission. You will only find what I am saying from somebody who is from the West and who has lived amongst the scholars and knows about the classical and the modern way of utilizing technology, will be able to tell you this. So my wasiyah to those who study with me is all of you should be well trained and well acquainted upon the classical way, pen and paper. And the way to combine them is first to write everything down on pen and paper and then type them up. There you go, you're using technology. But to just start using iPads and phones, and neglecting the way how knowledge has been transmitted for almost 1400 years before technology came in, then I feel that we will lose our heritage. Jazakallah khair, Sister Alima, she said a good point. I believe it holds more meaning in one's own handwriting. Definitely, I believe that when you write the knowledge or the benefit that your teacher has dictated to you, and whilst you actually write it, it becomes firm in your brain. I don't think the same result can be achieved easily when you're typing something, because sometimes people just type without being attentive. When you're actually writing something, most of the time, you will be thinking. Nah, no problem. So, students from the West have technology at their disposal. But the classical way is the way forward for us at this moment in time. When we are fully trained and fully acquainted with the classical way, then we can also use modern technology. But resorting to modern technology without utilizing and without experiencing the way of the Salaf and the classical way of learning, then this could be harmful for our future and our heritage. So do we understand what my position on modern technology? I say modern technology is a must to use, but in its correct manner and context. For us as students from the West, we want to learn the classical way. Once we've mastered the classical way, then we can adopt modern technology. So for example, if you're given an assignment to do all your notes and everything in handwritten, and then finally, before you present your assignment, type it out and send it. Naam, you may leave. Anybody that needs to leave for Maghrib doesn't need to take permission. They can leave and come back. And this is what I'm discussing today is very important, because people don't know how to strike the balance. Some neglect technology and stick to the classical way and deprive themselves of learning. And then it becomes they fall behind, and then they are not able to benefit themselves and others. And while others adopt modern technology and completely abandon and become ignorant and negligent when it comes to the classical way. Now, somebody said, now another student has said, it said that you can write in your books, but not type anywhere. There you go. So, the ink, hibr. We posted a post quite a few weeks back that when Imam Ahmad, Rahimahullah, there was some ink on his clothes and he was trying to conceal it in front of a Shafi'i. And Shafi'i said to him, why are you concealing this? This is the muru'ah, the landmark and the character of a student of knowledge, that his clothes are of ink. I mean, the amount of times that my mom has to buy vanish for me because of the pen marks that I will have on my pocket here. I could show you some photos that I have. She'll always say to me, the first thing she will see when I come back from Medina to the UK, either my wife, حفظه Allah, or my mom, is that they'll have their vanish ready. And they'll try to get rid of the ink marks of the pens that I have on my pockets. But this is the muru'ah of a talib al-ilm, which is being lost in our society. You go to a lecture now before COVID and you go into a masjid and you see everybody sitting with iPads, which is quite disturbing and sad. Not denouncing modern technology, saying that we should use iPads. But after we have trained ourselves and preserved our heritage by mastering the classical way. So this is the balance which I call to. So that's it. I have both things with me. I have a phone and I have my notepad. And I use both. I like to use the notepad more, because if this gadget goes one day, this can remain, but this can go. So we don't know tomorrow what's going to happen in the future. You know, this technology came so fast, and it can be taken away from us just as fast as it came. Yes or no? And we know that technology is not going to be here forever. Human beings have reached their peak when it comes to discovery and innovation and advancement. But classical way has been there from day one, from the time of Adam, and will remain till Yawm al-Qiyamah, till the last man that walks on the face of this earth. The pen and the ink and the paper will remain. So this is what I wanted to say today with regards to somebody who was going. I knew that this question would come up. My students, I always say, and in relation to this, is online books and PDFs. A student of knowledge should not be nurtured upon PDFs and online books. The spine of a book, and when you open the book and when you feel and smell the pages of the book, and when the book is in your presence, this is the classical way. And there's no replacement to this. So, does that mean that we now neglect PDFs? Then the answer to this is I always give this example, that PDFs and hard copy books, so you have the soft copy and the hard copy. The relationship of hard copy and soft copy is the relation of ma and tayammum. When do you do tayammum? When will you do tayammum? What's the ruling? When does a person do tayammum? When there is no water. So when the hard copy is not accessible to you, then you will go and use the soft copy, the PDF. Yes, in that instance, we will not say that don't be foolish and say, you know what, I'm only going to use hard. No, you don't have a hard copy now. It's not available. It's not available. If you have the hard copy, then yes, no to the soft copy. So the hard copy, بين الدفتين, between the pages and the spine and of the book, is the classical way, and there is no replacement of this إلى يوم القيامة. That's why I had one student of knowledge, or one student who was studying at the Islamic University in Medina. He came to me once and he visited my library and he said, I think this is all a waste of time. I said, why? He said, we've got PDFs today, everything. He goes, I've got some terabyte or something he brought, and he goes, I've got all these books in this terabyte, he said to me. So I smiled and I said to him, very good for you that you have these books. I said, is it possible to, have virtual online eating, eating food, burgers and chips and KFC online? He said, you're talking crazy. I said, how can you eat online? I said, can't we eat online? Virtual eating. There's people are praying virtually, but I still haven't heard of anybody saying that you come online and there's virtual eating. A burger pops up and you look at the burger and there you go, you start burping, you're full. So he started laughing again. He thought I actually mentioned that to him to get to a point. I wanted to make a point to him. I said, why? I said the body physically requires for you to take something inside your mouth, yes, in order for it to reach your stomach. I said these books are the nourishment of the soul. What are they? They are the nourishment of this soul, of this heart. And this nourishment will only reach them in a tangible manner. The online impact, you can ask anybody, is not the same as having a physical book in front of you. Then he understood what I was doing. I said, if eating and drinking, there cannot be a replacement for that, then and they are a nourishment of the body. The body requires food. Then the soul also requires nourishment. And the soul's nourishment is also required to be taken in the same manner when the book is in front and the soul is. That's why if you give me something to read online, there could probably be 5 or 6 mistakes on the page and I will not know a single one. But print it out and give it to me physically, I'll spot inshallah all the mistakes. That's why a lot of the times when our designing team are making posters and when they are transferring data onto the posters, I can't pick up nothing. It's like I'm blinded. If it was printed to me, then I would be able to read. So that's why if you bring me anything on a screen, it's like I'm partially blind. Print it out and bring it to me, alhamdulillah, and I will spot all the mistakes. I will even tell you that there's a full stop. And the reason why I had this problem, of which I still have this problem today, is when I went to speak to some of my teachers and I told them that this is a problem, they said to me, and this is the key point which I want to share with you students of mine, and I want to pass this on to you so that you will pass it on to the generations to come if I'm dead tomorrow. If I die, when I die tomorrow, my students will carry on this legacy. They said to me that your tarbiyah has been done on the classical way. Technology, the way and the methodology of technology cannot be replaced for you. You're stuck in your ways. You're going by the asr. The asr is the classical way, and the fard, the secondary manner or way, is modern technology. Technology has its advantages, like I said. When there is no ma, Allah gave us an alternative to make tayammum. When there is no hard copy, then use a soft copy. But don't make the soft copy into a hard copy. Do not replace it. Know that the way, the classical way of, they say that Abdullah ibn Abbas's students, Mujahid ibn Jawana, they would write on, when they had no paper, they would write on their shoes. All the way, all knowledge would be taken, you know, the parch that they would have, they would write, they had nothing left in there. They said that Shaykh Albani, rahimahullah, when he had no paper to write, he was writing on wedding invitations that were thrown away. On the back of them, he used that to write a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his Sincerity al-Hadith al-Sahih and Daif. So, do we understand the balance that is very important here as students of knowledge? Do you understand my legacy in the West for my students? That, you know, Andalus, Spain, when we went, Naam, Faddal ya Ammad. When Spain was booming under Muslim rule, I say one of the things that you found about Spain, Al-Andalus, as a Muslim state, was that the thaqafah, the culture of the Muslims was very advanced. And one of the distinguished characteristics of the Muslims in Spain, in Andalus, when Muslim rule was at its peak, living amongst Christians, was every single house had a library. Books. Every single house. No house was free from a library. You understand what I'm saying? This is when Muslims were at their peak in inventions and innovations and everything with regards to the deen and the dunya. Where a cultivated society was living in Europe, a Muslim state, they were advanced people, they were disciplined people, they were people who are looked at as an example, but every single house had a library. A section in the house was allocated just for a library. If you were a person who did not read books in those days, you were considered to be backwards. Naam, la bas. Is that clear? So do we understand the importance of striking that balance? Of using, like now we're using technology. Nobody will say, if I said to all of you, come to the masjid, some people are on the other side of the world, how would you be able to come to the masjid? So that there is no replacement for that. But I do say that when things go back to normal, then we should combine both ways. We should open the doors of the masajid and let those who are able to come there, come there. And we should do a live broadcast for those who are distant and cannot make it to the masjid. But if somebody can make it to the masjid, but decides and says, you know what, I'm just going to chill at home and I'm just going to listen to the lesson online. This is when modern technology is reprimanded. When modern technology clashes with the classical way and replaces the classical way, that's when we have a problem. But if modern technology is in hand, where the classical way and methodology is dominant, but modern technology is also utilized and benefited from, then I don't see a problem with that. So every single person should have a pen and paper. Every single person should have books. Every single person should make notes in their books. But at the same time, if for some reason something is not available, the book cannot be bought, you cannot obtain a copy, then at that time, you can refer to a soft copy. I hope my position and my opinion between the clash of the classical way and modern technology is clear to my students. I don't know if I'm going to discuss this again, but I hope that today you will go home knowing where we stand in the middle, moderately, between modern technology and the classical way. And this is something which I have discussed with the ulama, and they have backed what I have said. And they have seconded to what I have said. Some of them have just recently started coming and utilizing technology at its maximum level. Why many of them abstain from this is not that they thought that they considered or they thought that it was haram, is that they just feared that the classical methodology and manner may be lost, because they saw it being lost. People coming with iPads into lessons and taking notes, which is good. But if you told them to take notes with a pen and paper, they would be lost. They've never done that. And that is something which is blameworthy and something which is reprehensible and disliked. But if somebody is taking notes Alhamdulillah, he's able to take notes with pen and paper. And then one day he decides, today I'm just going to take some notes on my iPad. Nobody's going to reprimand him and say to him that, what have you done here? If you lose our heritage, that's the problem. Is that clear? Barakallahu feekum. So the first point that I mentioned, what was the first point that I mentioned before the importance of being sincere when taking notes and deriving benefits. The intention should be that you want to learn this knowledge and act upon this knowledge. So we have ikhlas al-niyyah, we have al-isti'ana billah. Now the next issue that's going to be discussed is the importance of writing down useful information. The second issue is the importance of writing down useful information when the teacher is teaching. So from among the fruits of seeking knowledge is recording down useful information. A student of knowledge should take down notes when the teacher is teaching, to the extent that some of the scholars went far as mentioning that just listening to lectures or reading books may never yield its expected benefits, except by writing down and jotting down useful information. It is for this reason that it was said in a poem. Some of the scholars have mentioned a line of poetry which says, al-ilmu saydun wal-kitabatu qayduhu qayyid suyudaka bil-habali al-wathiqa. Knowledge is hunting, and writing is seizing it, catching that hunt. So capture your hunt with strong ropes, meaning, you know, when you hunt something, what happens? You try to catch that hunt, isn't it? And how do you catch your hunt? After you've caught it, you will capture it with some type of ropes or something that will hold onto it so you don't lose it. So the parallel was drawn with knowledge. They said knowledge is very similar to when you are hunting or in search of something. And writing down that knowledge, jotting down that important information and data is seizing it, is capturing it, is securing it, it's preserving it. So preserve your game or your hunt or your knowledge with some strong rope that will tie it, meaning, and that is writing it down. So al-ilmu saydun wal-kitabatu qayduhu qayyid suyudaka bil-habali al-wathiqa. Bil-habali al-wathiqa. The hunt or the game that when you do, and what do? You tie up the animal once you've captured it. If you don't have, what's going to happen? Your hunt is going to run away. So in the very same way, the knowledge that comes to you, if you don't use ink and you jot it down, it's gonna go away from you. So it's very important that the first thing that we understand is, it's for this reason that we find that Nawawi rahimahullah said that he instructs the student to record rare and valuable information that he finds when reading or hears from his teacher. So information is of two types. So the student is always jotting down the information, the data that is being transmitted from his teacher to him. But when something rare comes out from the teacher's mouth, something which you know is going to be very difficult or scarce to find somewhere else, and that needs to be jotted down. And my manner is that when I find something like this, I have this. Babe, I have this. Does everybody know what this is? A highlight. So when that particular rare benefit or information or knowledge is given, that's highlighted. So when I go back to my notes, by default, I know this is something where I will not find very easily. I won't come across this very easily. I haven't found a lot of scholars mentioning this. Only this scholar has mentioned this particular point. Do you understand? So this is what novices. So a student of knowledge, when he takes down notes, he observes preciseness, consistent care, and he jots down that which is beneficial, that which is rare, and that which is valuable information. The student of knowledge must not think anything to be. He should not look down upon any useful information he comes across or hears about, regardless of what it may be. Rather, he should write it down and then later devote himself to reviewing what he wrote. So that was the second issue of what he jots down and what he does not jot down. Are we clear with regards to what has been mentioned? The third issue is, what are the type of benefits that should be written down? When a student of knowledge writes down benefits, he should not exceed any of the following points. First point is thoughts and contemplations that pass through his mind. So the Shaykh mentions something, he mentions a principle, and a thought comes to your mind of how that principle is implemented. Write it down. You should write these down in a personal diary, just as many people typically do. So we've already mentioned that. I mentioned this. These things can be. So I have a daftar called Daftar al-Fawaid. In that there is only benefits. Only benefits that I read from my library. And then I have something which is called Kashkul. Does anybody know what Kashkul is? Kashkul is that which sleeps with me, that travels with me around the world, from Medina to UK to Singapore to Malaysia to Australia to everywhere. Kashkul. Kashkul is like a rough notebook, and everything is written on there. So when you have something which is, everything is written on there, sometimes you might even find my shopping list on one of the pages. And then you have sometimes my son who takes he's very fond of my notebooks. He tries to read the Arabic and sometimes he reads the English, and then he'll take a page and he'll do some drawing cards of this. So this is like a kashkul on a day to day. But then you have another diary in which all that useful information is transferred. So you might have usul, principles of aqidah, principles of tafsir, principles of fiqh, principles of the Arabic language, all the different subjects that you're studying that you come across, and those important benefits will be transferred there. Other than the daily kashkul. What do we call this? Everybody should have a kashkul. All of you should have this. Naam, it says a scrapbook, a rough book. That doesn't mean it's a scrapbook that you start drawing missiles and start drawing pictures and no. It means that it's there. It's data that has been transmitted, and then from there, the data is organized onto another proper notebook where it's preserved. So you might be studying a week's lessons, and all your benefits are all something from Bayquniya, something from Al-Usul ath-Thalathah, something from Durur al-Bahiyya, and then you have another one in another notebook where everything is organized. So when you wanted to look up something on hadith, what's the hadith, we just go to the notebook and say, there's all my benefits here. The second point is his past personal experiences. That the student of knowledge has witnessed throughout him studying that subject. So there's certain benefits that he will write down, or she will write down. Naam, you can, which will be of a benefit to you particularly. So this benefit or this point is only specifically for you, or for anybody else. The third point is things that you hear from the scholars and the people of virtue and manners, or what you may even read. So you may be studying a subject, but you yourself are doing some research and you read something and it's amazing and it's a benefit. So you jot it down. This is what a person tends to write down when he's taking notes or writing benefits. 3 points were mentioned here. So we've got the kashkul, and then we've got the neat diary where everything is organized and written. So that's why sometimes, technology, you will not be able to keep up with technology. Technology will not be able to keep up with the classical. Files within files, they will be hidden. These dafatir will be tangible with you. The kashkul is here, the other daftar is there, etc. Third point. The third point is that things which the students of knowledge hears from his teacher and from other than his teacher, or what he may read related to that subject, he should jot that down in his kashkul or in his diary. So remember him in your du'as. I'm pretty sure that everybody that is here has benefited from Dr. Mohsin. We pray to Allah that He accepts this effort of his, and this hard work of his is put on the good scales as being heavy on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Barakallahu feekum. It was a good lesson today. It was more to do with, usually now my lessons you always find Quran, Hadith and that, but today was more to do with experience and more informative and more with regards to how to take notes and how important diaries and notes are for self-reflection as well as self-discipline and improvement and preserving the knowledge that you know. So, inshallah, we'll meet again tomorrow. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.